Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first digital European FP&A board. Today, we're going to explore the very popular subject, digital transformation. How do we move to the leading stage? My name is Hans Gobin, a founder member of the London FP&A Board, International FP&A Board Ambassador, and I will be facilitating the webinar today. We also have Larissa Malnichuk, who will be helping us with the Q&A session at the end. Larissa, let's not forget, is the founder of FP&A Trends Group, as well as the managing director. Let me just take you through the agenda quickly. We will be talking about FP&A transformation from traditional to digital, the power of driver-based planning, predictive, prescriptive analytics for planning and forecasting. How do we use modern technology in going towards the leading stage? FP&A skills required for the digital era, conclusions and recommendations, and then we'll move to the Q&A session. Let me just briefly talk you through updates on the FP&A trends. Just over 4 years ago now, we started to expand the London FP&A Board internationally. We are very proud today to have 27 chapters in 27 different cities, in 16 countries, and over 4 continents. I have highlighted the 3 cities here that today join us in this webinar. Just so you know, we have 400 odd attendees today. Just a brief update on the subject we have discussed so far in these chapters in the 3 cities we talked about. We started our fantastic journey in 2016 with the first board in Amsterdam. Shortly followed by Frankfurt and Brussels. We have done some 7 meetings in Brussels and Frankfurt and 9 in Amsterdam. These were all face-to-face meetings of senior practitioners, discussion and case studies on high and hot topics in FP&A. We very definitely believe the best way of learning is via sharing and collaboration. We have already had webinars in North America, Pan-Asia, Australia, and now is the time for the first Germany and Benelux webinar. Before we start, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, SAP, our technology partner. SAP, as you all know, is one of the world's leading providers of modern FP&A solutions. Thank you for collaborating with us in North America and various other cities in Europe. Thank you, SAP. Our second sponsor is Robert Half. As you all know, Robert Half is one of the world's leading recruitment consultancies. And thank you for collaborating with us in North America again and various cities in Europe. It is now a good time to start introduction of our great panel of experts. So at this point, I will invite our panel to switch on their webcam. There we go. Thank you very much. So we have 5 team members today, great team members. I will start by introducing Stephane, who is going to be our first speaker today. Stephane Bonutto is the CFO Europe of OERLIKON BALZERS. Stephane brings with him 25 years of experience in leadership in automotive and machine industry. Stephane has designed and implemented various planning and analysis tools and various methods to drive performance of organization where he has worked. Stephane is a member of our Frankfurt FP&A board and has presented in various meetings. And Stephane joins us today from Frankfurt in Germany. Hello, Stephane again.
Hello.
Thank you. Our second panel member is Tanja Schlesinger. Tanja is Vice President, OneSource Business Intelligence at Deutsche Bahn Regio AG. Tanja is driving digitalization of DB Regio FP&A processes by developing business intelligence platform with the aim for a true value driver-based planning and analysis system. She's also setting up data management and business intelligence tools, supporting the company in faster and better decision making through machine learning as well as anything else. Tanja is also a member of our AI and ML FP&A committee. Today, Tanja will be talking to us about the power of driver-based planning. Hello, Tanja. You're welcome.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Hans. Hi, everybody.
Thank you very much. Our third member is Thomas Lundell. Thomas is a member of the Amsterdam FP&A Board, and he joins us from Amsterdam today. Thomas is Senior Director at NetApp. Thomas has held various finance positions over the years, in particularly has done a lot of work on predictive prescriptive planning, which is what he's going to talk to us about today. Hello, Thomas. Give us a wave, please. Thank you. Nice of you to be here. Our fourth presenter is Eric. Eric is Vice President at SAP, Center of Excellence Planning and Analysis, and joins us today from Boston in the US. Eric's team helps customers improve business results and solutions that integrate business performance, intelligence, financial planning and analysis through machine learning and predictive analysis. Hello, Eric. Good to have you with us today.
Thanks, Hans. A great introduction, and happy to be here and happy to support the event. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, we have Pascal Köth, who is Director at Robert Half in Frankfurt, Germany. Pascal has over 12 years of experience in recruitment. Hello, Pascal. Nice of you to be with us.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, panel of experts. I would now like to ask you to switch off your camera and go on mute. Thank you very much. Let me now take you through some housekeeping. So we've got 90 minutes for our webinar, 4 polls, 1 Q&A session. You can ask questions via the chat box. You guys can start asking questions if you wish as soon as we finish one presentation and up until towards the end. You can also connect directly to our speakers via LinkedIn. And also at the end of the webinar, there will be an automatic survey, so please help us with that. Without further ado, I would now like to just quickly take you through the FP&A maturity model. You guys would have seen this over the various different meetings that we've had. Just a quick reminder that this is a journey. When you look at this model, you can recognize where your current organization is, but also it can help you to create practical steps. Traveling around the world, we've seen different setups and framework. We also did a lot of work on site and surveys and assessment, the results of which we can share with yourself. Not so many companies are in the leading stage, but people are progressing through very quickly. Just a quick update on the leading stage. We've listed the various different aspects of the leading stage. I am not going to go through in detail at this point in time, but through the presentation, I will talk you through. It is now a good time to introduce our first speaker of the day, Stephane Bonutto, CFO of Europe. Stephane, the stage is yours, Stephane.
Thank you, Hans. It's my pleasure to take you through a presentation in transformation of a company from digital to from traditional to digital processes. To me, I'm Stephane Bonutto, CFO Europe of OERLIKON BALZERS. OERLIKON BALZERS is the world leading technology provider of surface solutions, especially in the areas of PVD coating for instance, cutting tools, forming tools, precision component automotive, so many applications in different sectors. My responsibility as a CFO Europe is to drive financial planning and analysis processes and to take them to the next level, basically. Our journey is really where we are on the way from traditional to digital, and I'd like to start with a quote that I guess illustrates pretty much where we stand. That says basically, don't rush into digital transformation without efficient processes. It really illustrates where we are and where we are placing the focus on our journey to digital. I will go into more details in the next slide. So the next one. So where we are on our journey, I think it's fair to say that we are in an intermediary state with defined processes and a good driver-based planning already in place in order to have a robust forecasting and planning processes. Some element of course, of descriptive analysis, which I guess is the heart of FP&A processes. Good BIs, which we are working on at the moment to take them to the next level in order to support our, I call them 4.0 introduction. So with that, I would enter into the status quo. Next slide, please, of where we are on our maturity model and where we want to be. So what is our vision? Our vision is really to provide absolute high-end quality of financial data, to provide transparency to our business. We have shortly reorganized the finance department into a, I would call it finance support functions, reporting finance to finance, really in order to streamline and align all the processes and even improve the quality, take it to the next level and provide transparency and driving elements to the business. We want to do that fast pace. We believe that reducing planning and forecasting processes is key. And I guess that the Corona crisis has shown the drawbacks of having long process times in order to avoid that paradigm is changing before even some budgeting or some forecasting analysis is finished. So speed is key. So is cost efficiency. We want to do it in a rational way. I don't want to say it's a cheaper finance, but it's a probably more intelligent finance, optimizing the capabilities of people. To me, people are key. They are really the drivers of the optimization. They are the brains, and we really rely on moving them to also to the next level in terms of capabilities by removing manual work into increasingly more digitalized work. So how we defined our approach? We define our approach with processes being as much as we can in the future automized and standardized. We are in a moment at the moment where we have I would say already partially standardized processes. They are still different from country to country. The fundament is the same, but we believe that as we expand from the countries which have led the stage in terms of maturity, that we can replicate the model into other regions, other business lines, other divisions, and by that even foster the implementation of those digital processes across the companies. Methods and tools are equally important, and they are really a focus for me because by having people working on an aligned method and having really the same understanding of what is essential to deliver for us as FP&A team, we believe that there is a recognition effect for our business in the sense that every general manager in a legal entity is recognizing the same set of data, the same and aligned way of taking a look at things and basically driving conclusions. So that goes together with tools. Tools are at the moment, I would say, in a good developed stage where we have defined the next improvements, being in the accounting, being in FP&A in the sense of controlling. We are developing them, fostering the development. and we are sure that by increasing the alignment of our processes, we will have also the possibility to implement even more intelligent tools in the process, especially on data and business analytics tools. Finally, another one which is very important on our definition of the approach is really the backup strategy. We're working in a company with a lot of branches, with a lot of legal entities. We're present in more than 100 countries in the world. So by that, in our countries, legal entities, the finance teams are somewhat limited in terms of headcount. So it's key to have a really good backup between people to make sure they recognize the work that has been done by somebody else. They can really take on when somebody happens to be, I don't know, on leave or sick or whatever. And the precondition for that is, of course, to have aligned processes, aligned methods and tools. So you see there's a circle basically in our approach to move our processes, our tools and our deliverables from the traditional to the digital. Next slide, please. So our achievements, what have we achieved? In the area of accounting, we have an operational shared service center. We found out that it is really a key element, a key pillar on our organization, transferring some repetitive activities in the areas of accounting as a start. So account payables, receivables, general ledger, bank ledger. We can free up our people from manual tasks and move them to more intelligent and maybe more challenging tasks. But also very important is it ensures that accounting processes are consistent in the large amount of legal entities which we have. That's really a key one. So it was really not only a cost-saving measure, but it was really focused on taking the quality and the consistency of our accounting processes to the next level. I like to mention that in our Fpna team, we follow a center of excellence approach. Here we go back to the backup concept that I introduced previously. It's really important to leverage on the working capabilities in remote teams. I remember putting together a physical teams in one of my previous companies now about 15 years ago. By now, technology has changed, and we have really the possibility across the world to develop people, to let them work on aligned processes, on aligned tools. And the beauty of that is that as they work, they also develop the tools further. We shortened our forecasting and budgeting process time. I think we feel proud about that. We certainly reduced our forecasting cycle by 1 or 2 days each month. And if you just multiply by the number of people involved in a forecasting process, you can have a grasp about the time and money saved and the intelligence which can be redeployed into the analytics. And the same goes with the budget. We have a tool in place that I would say is the precondition to digitalization, because it's really, although on the edge between the traditional and the advanced, it really enables having all the countries working with the same processes. Finally, it enables us to deliver consistent business process management, consistent data monitoring, performance analytics across all the countries. So what are our next steps? We want to increase automation in transactional activities. By having our shared service center deployed, by having process documented, basically the work shadowing having taken place, good desktop procedures, we are in the way where we will be in a position to implement a real orchestrator of activities, implement, design swim lanes, and make sure that in the future some automation, maybe some artificial intelligence can go through that, make sure steps performed, pass into the next one. And by that, actually, the human activities move from doing into the monitoring, the reviewing. It's important in the sense of internal controls. It develops people, and it really enables us to take our work to the next level in terms of error recognition and data consistency. So ultimately, where we want to be, and that's my transition to the next slide on our maturity model, where is our journey taking us to? We have a good chance, we reckon, to be in an advanced situation of the FP&A processes, encompassing also accounting, with especially an even more developed driver-based planning model. Having a very complex business, it makes it very key in order to increase speed, to concentrate on real cost drivers. Here I'm really focusing on costing to really be fast, and also at the end of the day also be more cost efficient. We also believe that our journey takes us to even more predictive or prescriptive analysis. Our aim is really able to do fast scenario analytics. Corona has shown us that we need to have really short process cycles, and having our advanced processes will enable us to really react quickly to the business, turn a large wheel of data but at a high speed, and also having people not cranking the data but really analyzing them and making the business sense out of it. So at the end of the day, ensuring a strong FP&A business partner into our business. So my conclusion, next slide, is to say digitalization is great potential, a lot of achievement possible, ensure readiness. That will be really my key recommendation in your companies, in our company. The readiness is articulated across 3 pillars. It's a system, it's a good ERP, needless to say. IT landscape is the precondition in order to have really a lot of data flowing from country, between countries, so broadband, servers, and the likes. Processes, I can only repeat, it should be, especially in big organizations, aligned, consistent, harmonized, documented. It does by no way mean rigid or proud to be at the status quo, but rather the alignment and the harmonization is a way to move them in a consistent way the next step forward. And I like to conclude my presentation by saying people are in the middle of our heart. People are really the ones who take us further. We develop people, they develop themselves, we develop ourselves in skills, in the mindset. We always question our work. What do we do? Is it the right thing to do? Do we work on the right things, and do we work right on the things? Thank you for listening. This concludes my own presentation.
Stephane, thank you very much for your update and presenting to us your journey in your organization as to where you are. And it is great to see that it is a journey and that you are striving towards achieving the leading stage. At this point in time, I would like to ask Tanja to give us her comments on the presentation and the subject matter, please, Tanja.
Sure. Stephane showed us initially how he streamlined applications and the systems for harmonizing tools, and of course, there is also any method used. To me, the bundling processes in a shared services center, with this he laid a groundstone for automation. And it brings another advantage as you do this, because you reach a common database for financial data, and all relevant data collection is automated. So for this, he'll probably be on a way better off position to reach a better performance when initiating innovation in processes by digitalizing. And I think there is one saying that caught me in the past, and it fits so well to Stephane's vision. It says that automation transforms a company in a butterfly rather than trained to be fast caterpillars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to now launch the poll, our first poll, and I would invite the attendees to please answer the polls. I'm now launching the poll. The question is, where do you believe your organization is on the FP&A analytics journey? The basic stage, the developing stage, the defined stage, or the advanced stage? Can you please vote, please. I can see we've got 29–30% of people voted already. I will leave it another 5–10 seconds. That is great, 60–70%. Another 5 seconds, and I am going to close the vote now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm now going to share. Right, we can now see where the majority of our people today attending voted. Stephane, would you like to give us your opinion on what we've just seen in terms of the vote, please?
I would say it's I would interpret it as a very honest self-assessment of the participator. I would expect maybe a bit more of companies to see themselves in a defined state. I guess this self-assessment reflects our own assessment of the challenge of what's in front of us. So I would say it's a very candid self-look, recognizing all the potential that is in front of us. It basically also shows that we shouldn't wait for the big bang happening in terms of everything goes digital before we start, but really I believe that little step by little step, we can really take our companies throughout the journey of the maturity model.
Thank you very much, Stephane. And as we can see, as far as the poll is concerned, it is very definitely what we have been seeing traveling across the world. It is great to see 9% at the advanced stage, and the leading sort of 1% is what we see. Thank you very much for your participation on taking the poll. I will now hide the results and we go back to our presentation. Thank you very much. It is now a good time to move on to our next presentation, which is where Tanja will be talking to us about the leading stage. Tanja, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hans. Can I have my first slide, please? Well, installing driver-based planning, you'll probably rush literally towards an integrated planning and analysis, so to say, extending the Fp&A function. I found in a quite young article of earlier this year at Gartner Research that came up with calling it the new era of continuous enterprise financial and operating planning. How this has affected our company, I'd like to share with you now. Next slide, please. Can I please have the next slide? Thank you. I'd briefly like to introduce my company to you. DB Regio is a subsidiary of Deutsche Bahn, and our operation started 180 years ago when the first steam-powered engine pulled a train with passengers. Today, we still offer train services only within Germany, where we are market leader in public mass transportation. We operate 22,000 trains, and that is for over 5 million passengers a day. We make with this all together roughly 8 billion euro turnover, which was last year. This year might look different. Well, and especially for a company as big as ours, it's essential to have a firm grip on our financials. So some years ago, we started by setting up a value driver tree and developed a performance canvas as a basis for our performance dialogues with all the levels of management. Apart from a view on competitiveness and customer satisfaction, we also looked closely to monitor, of course, turnover and resources. Along the three-way model of planning P&L, cash flows, and balance sheet, as first move, we started off with developing further insights on our key value driver of our P&L. Today, we aim at implementing a real-time model and commenced, of course, our discovery tour and using machine learning and setting up cases with artificial intelligence. Our vision definitely includes the implementation of a multidimensional driver-based approach and its integration in an overall business intelligence platform. We started to get rid of data silos and implemented an open IT. By this, I can only say we facilitated an extension of that Fp&A function to operating units across our organizations And finally, we're truly convinced that in a rollout of digital processes, we will make us more successful in the market. Can I have them, please, the next page? We started with driver-based planning and looked at major items with impact, so to say, the operational cost with financial effect. No matter how well we did in our planning in the past, a solid prediction can only be made when its key value drivers are fully understood. So saying this, I'd like to introduce to you our use case now. Well, it's all about energy cost. There are two large cost positions to look at, the electricity and diesel, and especially environmental concerns and the financial impact of diesel consumption made us look closer at it. Countrywide, there are large rural areas and train operations are often only provided a few times a day. And for this little use, those tracks were not equipped with electricity. That's the reason why 1/3 of our fleet is run by diesel. The only metric we've initially found on the consumption of a diesel-powered train was when a tank was filled up, was about 2,000 liters of diesel, and when it needed a refill. With this, we didn't know how much diesel was used on a specific day or on a train line or even on a specific route segment. So filling a tank and returning to the gas station once it's empty seems to be a pretty poor indicator for driver-based planning, not? So this is how we worked on generating a metric in a three-step way. First, we installed a telematic box on the vehicle. Then we streamed sensor data in the GPS position of the vehicle. And third, we set up algorithms to simulate the specific energy consumption. Our goal was, of course, to better analyze and plan diesel consumption and driving behavior as the key influencing factors. Then we wanted to set up a driver report, a very individual one. And in a future step, we want to send live data reports to the driver while he's on tour. And last, we intend to install a driving assistance system. We noted that mostly depending, of course, on the driving behavior of our staff. And for this, we extended our planning and analysis to the operational unit and closely developed algorithms together. Today, we enjoy the benefits of integrated planning. Can I please have the next page? As we saw before, it needs an IT application, and developing such apps usually doesn't get covered by the skills of the Fpna staff. At least at our company, we had to hire someone with the programming skills, but programming alone, though, wouldn't fully meet our requirements too. This is why we hired data engineers to start a data collection of data from different sources and data scientists to work out algorithms together with the operational unit. So at the end, we came out with a regression model reflecting the specific diesel consumption of a train on any segment it runs. The algorithm was generated in 3 steps too, and it answers especially the following questions. Number 1, we wanted to highlight the segments which provided the most potential for energy saving. And we identified those segments with the largest impact by asking where, when, and which vehicle model. Then in the second step, we identified out of the data sample a group of representative train rides. Within this group, we started a classification of good, bad, and average rides. So together with the operative unit, we finally defined a set point then for evaluating the consumption. Our last step gave the answer to an optimized driving style, and we came out with a recommendation of driving profiles per route segment. We generated this out of historic data, and this is the point where machine learning adapts itself by optimizing the algorithm on a growing larger database and by using the influencing factors as weather, for example. Can I please have my last page? Hans showed us at the beginning the analytics maturity model. So for some of our P&L positions, we're about to enter the leading stage. I remember that we had really good chances to proceed fast when all experts we needed were available. And true experts were found across our functions and of course also across the hierarchy. Then one part was to receive funds and resources to set up a proper data management for digitalizing FP&A processes. But unfortunately, our organization was so used to working with Excel that any benefit of fully automating or visualizing data in order to being able to share it with others outside of our FP&A function, that took quite some time. And let me recommend to you, especially to focus on your performance indicators. As long as you have an agreed set of KPIs for your organization's performance, stick to them first. Our team, we were truly in the spirit of trying out and started smaller use cases just as experiments. We looked first at our low-hanging fruit and identified use cases that could be realized within a short time span. But in any case, it's crucial to set up a modern data architecture to better manage your interface for configurations and the presentation of components to consistent data. Well, all I talked about now was quite some change to our organization, and I believe it can only be mastered well by looking at the human factor too. So there is new skills and open mindset crucial, which Stephane already elaborated out earlier. And we tried out new things, set up laboratory conditions, and used modern project management tools such as agility. When we implemented new tools and processes, as with any change, you have to take good care of your staff and spend enough time to invite also everyone to be along this journey and to join in at a very early stage. At the end of my presentation, I'd like to take a brief look at the effects which were generated within only 1 year. I can tell you that energy savings led to an honorable financial impact, and at the same time, we largely reduced CO2 exhaust for a better environment. So doesn't this look promising and powerful indeed? Well, thank you for sharing your time with me, and now I'm ready for comments from the panel.
Tanja, thank you very much for your very enlightening presentation, and definitely for how you've put together driver-based planning, as well as utilization of machine learning, algorithmic together to push the boundaries. Thank you very much for that. I would like now to ask Stephane for some comments on Tanja's presentation, please. Stephane?
I guess my comment is a very short one. Saving energy is absolutely measurable, and here Tanja offers a brilliant example on how driver-based planning leads to a real concrete and tangible result. So I think I just say well done.
Thank you very much, Stephane, and thank you very much, Tanja, for your presentation. Thank you very much, both. It is a good time now to move to our next polling question. If you just bear with me, I'm going to open the second poll. And this poll is all about how would you describe your planning process? Please start to vote. I am just about to launch the poll. The poll has been launched. So please, how would you describe your planning process? Static, no drivers at all. Some drivers are used. Fully driver-based, but not three-way modeling. So no, it's not all balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow. Or the fourth option is three-way driver-based modeling. So including your P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow, everything is linked together in terms of driver-based planning. Please vote. We've got 49, 60, 70% of us have voted. I will now be closing the vote. Thank you very much. And the vote is now closed. Thank you very much all. I'm now going to share our polling results, and I would like to ask Tanja to please give us her point of view of what we're seeing in terms of the poll.
I'm not surprised at all to see that everybody's moving forward. The three-way driver-based modeling is quite a challenge, but I'm happy to notice that there are almost 1/5 of us working on this. It definitely leads us towards a higher maturity state, and by reaching the state of planning processes, further basing them on your drivers, on your key influencing factors, you'll definitely boost your performance.
Thank you very much, Tanja. I mean, really good results here, to be honest with you. 50% are using some level of drivers or driver-based planning. 26% are utilizing fully driver-based planning, but not fully integrated with balance sheet cash flow. More importantly, 17% have got three-way driver-based planning. So very, very good results. Thank you very much, everyone, for voting. And we are now going to go back to our presentations. Apologies, we're just going back to moving on now quickly. Our next presentation is by Thomas, and Thomas will be talking to us around predictive and prescriptive planning. Just highlighted a couple of points from our leading stage there, which is around predictive, prescriptive analytics, digital FP&A, AI, ML, and automation. So I will now move on to Thomas and invite Thomas to give us his presentation, please. Thomas, take it away, please.
Thank you. So I think you can hear me now, right? Good.
Yes.
Yes. So my name is Thomas Lundell. I'm the Senior Director of the EMEA go-to-market function at NetApp. And what I'm about to present is, of course, the opinions of my own and not necessarily those of NetApp. Just want to point that out as well. So 30 seconds on NetApp. If you haven't heard of us, I'm pretty sure that you use us every day, or our products every day indirectly, even if you don't know about it. So we are, or consider ourselves, the data authority in the hybrid cloud, which means that we develop, manufacture, install systems and software for data centers, more or less, through partners, resellers, distributors, and alliances. We also sell that through Google, through Amazon, and through Microsoft Azure, our cloud data services product line. The revenue of the company is about 6 billion per year. A third of that is in EMEA, and that also makes us a Fortune 500 company. So before we jump into the details of the presentation, I also have a nice quote, I think, here from Warren Buffett, because what I'm going to talk about is really how we use predictive and prescriptive analytics for planning and in particular forecasting. And the quote is that the forecast usually tell us more about the forecaster than that of the future, and I think that's very true. I think there is a lot of biases and other influencing factors that gives a lot of noise to the bottoms-up forecast, traditional bottoms-up forecast. And you know, that's just the way of life. That's just life. That's human nature. That's how it is going to be. You can try to reduce it, but I don't think you will get away from it at any point. And that's why I think that I view a predictive forecast modeling as a complement to the, let's say, the management forecast, and that is what I'll come back to a little bit towards the end of my presentation. So if you can switch to the next slide. Right, so I think you all know a little bit about predictive and prescriptive analytics already, right? You don't have to use it only in the financial world. You can use it also for workforce planning, traffic congestion, weather, very famous, factory capacity, and in our case, the revenue forecast. And you can use different models for it. You can use, and the most popular one is the regression analysis, and that is what we also use. And when you do regression analysis, I just want to point out that it's very important on the input variables that you pick, right? And they can be very, very different for your companies that you work for. So if you are a big, large conglomerate in a cyclical business, I'm sure you might want to look at your 12-month revenue period and use some predictive or regression model to try to understand what your revenue is going to be over the next 12 months. You might use inputs like GDP growth or exchange rates or future prices of commodities that are important in your particular market. And if, on the other hand, if you're a niche player in a B2B market with a push sales force, if you will, a push model, a little bit like NetApp, then you might not be so accurate if you're using those type of inputs. You might want to look at market trends specifically and technology trends, but if it's more on your short-term forecast, maybe you can also look internally at the pipeline that you're building through your CRM system, and that is what we have done at NetApp. So if you go to the next slide. So finance function has evolved over time. This is not my slide originally, right? This is a copy-paste slide, but traditionally finance departments have been looking more historically. We've been looking at variance analysis. We've been trying to understand what happened and making commentary for management, and maybe we had flash reports, right? That were preliminary results even, and that was all very exciting. But we're really shifting over to predicting what will happen, and not just through the management roll-up of the forecast, but really using technology and regression analysis and more data scientist type of tools. I think when I look at this, I think that predictive analytics is a key ingredient in planning a forecast, but it's not the only ingredient. And there is a risk when you start looking at predictive analytics and you build your model, and it turns out that if you would have applied it in the last 4 quarters or 8 quarters, it would have been very accurate, and you expect it to be accurate going forward, is that your model says next quarter revenue is going to be 100 million. You all sit back and relax and you say, well, the model said we're going to do 100 million, so we're going to do 100 million. And that's a very passive approach, right? Because you still have to take on a lot of activities within your company to reach those 100 million. And the other thing is maybe your budget, your plan was that you were going to do 110 million. So now you have a gap, right? And the purpose of identifying that gap is that you're going to take action. You might have a marketing campaign, you might do spiff to your sales force so that you can close that gap. But in effect, what that means is that your predictive analytics model is actually wrong, because it said 100 million, and now you changed a lot of things and drove behavior, and that drove lead to a different outcome. And that's exactly how to use a predictive analytics model, in my view, not to actually determine what the exact revenue will be, but to determine if there's a gap between the predictive analytics model and where you want to be, and what actions do you need to take to get there then. So if you can move to the next slide. So at NetApp, and I'm picking on Sweden here, I am living in the Netherlands, but I am Swedish by origin. So I wanted to talk about how we use this a little bit at NetApp actually. So we have these 2 models and they meet in the center. We have the traditional forecasting, traditional planning way of that you roll up your bottoms up forecast, bottoms up, top down, a little bit of both, right, as always. But that roll up is of course full of noise, biases, politics, and gaming. For instance, you might be in your Q4 and you want the Q4 forecast. Well, that Q4 forecast creates a baseline for the next year's target, and your paycheck and your commission may be very reliant on that, on achieving that target, which means that you have kind of an incentive to try to under forecast a little bit, particularly in Q4. Or you might have another situation where you're actually your business isn't doing too well, and you know it, and your local knowledge of, let's say in this case, the Swedish market, you all know it. But if you already roll that up into a regional or a geography forecast, it may mean that the corporate headquarters will come in and try to cut your expenses and come with other programs. So there might be a reason for you to delay the messaging of that unfavorable business situation. So all these things play a role and can distort the accuracy of the forecast. And to minimize the impact of that, and we saw that as well at NetApp, by the way, we built a predictive model that also predicts what the forecast will be every single quarter. And we actually looking at our internal data because we have a B2B push model. And we determined basically 3 things in our regression analysis. There are more things than those 3, but those are the key input variables to the model. That's really where we are in the specific deal stage. It's really if it's a commit or best case high stage, what we call type of opportunity. And the third thing is actually the country. This is also an interesting thing, right? Because what we see is that the culture of our countries is very different in how they view the probability of certain deals going to be won or lost and closed within a certain time frame as well. You might have, in my experience, is that tends to be in the Middle East, they tend to inflate the probability of actually hitting the forecast and the numbers that they have in the pipeline, whereas maybe more down to earth and realistic forecasts coming in from actually the Nordic countries in this case. And that's all fine. We can't change corporate culture, so that all goes, or country cultures, and that all goes into the model to produce this output. And what we've seen is actually that well, first of all, our forecasts have become more accurate, and there's also more discussion between the regional leaders and our finance analysts in submitting the final forecast. So the gap between the predictive model and the management forecast was quite large in the beginning. It's closed. We've closed the gap quite materially recently and delivered more accurate forecasts. And I think also one of the reasons that we have more accurate forecasts and close the gap is also because we confront the regional business leaders with the differences and the variances, and we are looking with them in a collaborative way for explanations of differences. So we have had very positive experience with introducing predictive analytics as a complement to the management forecast, because at the end of the day, management owns the forecast, and if we just were to use the predictive model, the accountability on delivering that data generated forecast is not very great. Next slide, please. I don't know if you can move to the next slide.
Thomas, just a moment. This is Larissa. It looks like Hans having technical problem, so I'm going to take it up. Yeah. I'm asking my technical staff as well. Elena, can you move to the next stuff? Next slide, please. I think you can start talking, and we are.
I will talk to it. This is basically just a summarizing of the key learnings. So as I said in the beginning, one of the key things for me is that different companies really need different models. I mean, you have to look at your own company to understand what are the key drivers that should go into your regression analysis or whichever predictive mathematical model you want to use. And the second thing is that I really view predictive analytics as complementary and not replacing traditional forecasting. I think you need both, and it's worked perfectly like this in our case. And then you need to continuously evolve the model because you may change the way you're looking at your pipeline. Your pipeline hygiene might increase. Things happen in the business. You might have a new product line with a shorter sales cycle and things like that. So you need to continuously evolve and make sure that your predictive model is up to date.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Thomas. I think it's a great opportunity now for the panelists to start commenting on this. I know that Hans is joining us in a moment to continue. I'm taking over now. So I would like to ask Eric to comment on this. So what would you say additional to this presentation?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas, of course, a great presentation and a great, and I think it shows also maybe under polling number one why people are hesitant to move to the advanced state and the leading state, because what you will see in this picture is also on the one side we got predictive, which probably has the better accuracy, and then you got all the personal flavors, the culture, the behavior on top of that, and that's probably the balance we need to find. At the other side, we know that predictive, if the past was always the same and it would be repeating into the future, then it's easy because predictive will win. But we've also learned from Corona and from COVID-19 that maybe the past is not really determining the future. And in that scenario, of course, the personal flavor and the personal behavior will win again. So again, it's great. It's a great story, and absolutely, we're all struggling finding the balance between predictive and the people.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for this. And I would like to ask Tanja to comment on this as well.
Sure. I'm glad to hear that it's always all about regression models. There is little beyond this, so to speak, true. On the other hand, you show us that it's quite powerful when you choose your data-driven approach, and your leverage with is also your forecasts. I'm quite surprised to learn that one of your key drivers is that cultural differentiation. And that's quite surprising that it's such an important thing because it's amongst your top 3. That is something I learned, which was to my surprise. And I think there is a question, what should we do as possible outcome of all those optimizations and simulation algorithms? And you warned us to handle that with care and see it as complementary. I think that is the right approach to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanja. Thank you so much, Thomas. And what I would like to do now, I would like to open the next polling question and to hear what is happening in the world of our participants. So to what extent you use an artificial intelligence and machine learning? So I'm launching the poll right now, and I would like to ask you to start commenting on this. Yeah. So please, can you start voting? Please vote now. Please continue to vote. Please, can you continue to vote? I can see that more than 63, 66, 67% of you voted. Thank you so much for this. And I'm going to close the poll. And I'm going to share the results with you. I'm sharing results with everyone. We can see that no artificial intelligence machine learning being used in finance FP&A, 45% of you. 36% of you plan to use artificial intelligence machine learning in the future in finance and FP&A. I can see that 14% use this already in finance and FP&A, and 4% yes, being used in finance and FP&A. So, Stephane, what would be your commentary on this?
It's not very surprising for me in the sense that AI and ML are still also in a developing stage on their own. In that sense, it takes some time and some maturity in order for companies to be able to really implementing it. I am also admirative of the ones 14% and 4% who are already, I would say, in the advanced part of the scale. I think that's really a high competitive advantage.
Thank you so much, Stephane. Eric, what would be your commentaries on this? Is it any surprises over there?
Nah, yeah, Larissa, I think we spoke about this before. Yeah, it is disappointing because if you look at the technology vendors like an SAP, of course, we spend pretty much 100% of our time on AI and machine learning. That's the new topic that we're focusing on. And where we can also see that, yeah, from a customer perspective, there's still a lot of processes and plans to put in place. But yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. It's a bit of a surprise.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your votes. And thank you so much for your commentary. I'm going to hide the results. I'm going to hide the results. And I can see that Hans is here. Yeah?
Yes. Apologies,
Fantastic,
everyone.
Yeah.
Apologies.
So this is the technology, yeah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I am now going to share my screen, and apologies for that. Absolutely. Let me, obviously my slides will be somewhat behind. Yeah, so Larissa, thank you very much for taking over, and let's now move on to the next stage, which is where Eric is going to talk to us about utilization of modern technology So Eric, the stage is yours. Please take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Hans, and glad to see that you're back in the wheel. So yeah, so I think this first slide pretty much connects to what we discussed previously and what we saw in many of the polling questions as well, is that we are very, as organizations, busy with predictive and machine learning. But if we really look at reality, we also see that many customers are still very much busy with data collection and just the basic reporting and data validation. And this is a result of a survey that we did between SAP and Fp&A Board, where you can see that also that on average, only 26 is spending time on driving actions. That is really the end result of a plan, is that we really take the data, we validate it, we create all the reports and all the insights, and then we do the action, the decision making on top of that. And of course, if you look at analytics, decision making is the most important thing, but you can see that many companies never get to that particular stage in the cycle. Next slide, Hans. Yeah, and so at SAP, what we do, and I think what we also discussed in this particular webinar, is we look at the full cycle, and it all starts at data. And we see in the last 5 to 10 years, the volume of data has increased significantly for many of the organizations, both internal as well as external data, weather, IoT, all that data is coming into the organization. And for many customers, it is completely overwhelming, because which data do I really need to drive my action into the future? And then we're very busy of cleansing that data and trying to get some information out of that data for just management reporting or legal reporting. And that is the first step in the cycle. But what really starts to matter is, how do I drive insights from that data? How do I look at what are my profitable customers? How do I do cost reduction, like what Tanja was talking about in regards to electricity? And those are the insights that we need as an organization, because only then can I create a plan for the future, and only then can I really focus my organization on those things that are really making an impact to the organization. And then the final step, and I think that's also where we are struggling a little bit, is we need to keep these actions in the hands of the people. And that's where the whole people and the behavior and the culture comes into play. So at SAP, we definitely focus on the full cycle, all the way from data to value adding to an organization. And hopefully with that, we give you a platform that really allows you to drive your business into the future. Next slide, please, Hans. Yeah, so just a few other things that we see in the market is, first of all, decision making. I think we see a big change in decision making. Is that originally, historically, we always did it once a month, once a quarter. We looked at all the data, we did that in Excel, and then we made some decisions. But then we saw a whole time period of we need to do that more frequently, where we said, okay, let's do this in real time. I think Stephane talked about that as well. We want real-time decision making and have data available in real time. And then we now see that companies also want to make autonomous decision. Really let the system, let the technology drive decision making around pricing, around promotions, and those types of topics. So you really see a change in behavior on decision making. The diverse sources of data, there is no doubt about it. There is more data available to any organization, internally, externally, and we need to take the best of all these data sources that we can use. We need to create less silos, and I think Tanja gave a great example. We need to connect financial to operational, and do this for HR, do this for revenue, and all these different plans that we have as an organization need to be connected. And that also means we need to break these silos. We need one data platform. We need one specific solution that really allows us all the way from data to insights. Now we need to apply this into the applications, into the workflows. We need to really enable the end users, the people, your teams, to make those decisions and use that data. For us, of course, in SAP, it's a big challenge to the hybrid environments. We see a lot of data in the on-premise world, in your organizations, but you also know that more and more organizations are moving into the cloud. So it becomes a mixture of data on the cloud, data in the on-premise world, and how do we connect these two environments together in that decision making. And then, back to planning, back to xP&A. We see now that planning applies to the complete organization, the different aspects of the organization, HR. But for example, with Corona and COVID, you saw a big change and a big requirement on cash planning, but also, for example, on the supply chain. How can I see my disruption in supply chain, and how can I steer that into the future? Hans, next slide. Yeah, and that comes back to, I think, a similar slide that what Thomas is shown before, is if we look at the maturity chart, we can really see this starting at the beginning with all the data, the cleansing of the data, then we're creating the standard reports, and this is pretty much the monthly reporting, the weekly reporting that we do. And there was a big change in people wanted to do decentralized reporting, so we created all these different BI visualization tools. We gave it to the departments to make their own decisions. And that's pretty much all aspects of analytics that are related to historical reporting. What has happened in the past? And then it becomes interesting on the question on why did it happen? The insight that we can generate for that, regarding to profitability, regarding to cost management, those types of topics. And then we move into the future. What will happen into the future? And then the first thing is, I think also what Thomas was talking about, is regression, is generic predictive, is time series algorithms to say, okay, if we assume that the history is basically determining the future, then we can run these algorithms in regards to trending, seasonality, etc., to get a picture on the future. But we also know that maybe that type of regression does not work for all the accounts that I have in my P&L and my balance sheet. And then we get into predictive modeling, when I think what Tanja was also talking about, and the most important thing is influencing factors. Driver-based planning is only as valid as the drivers that I'm using for that. And to really determine which driver should I use, I need to do predictive modeling to really find the influencing factors through classification and regression algorithms. And this is also not only as a single topic, it is even that you will see that predictive modeling needs to be on the product level, on the customer level, on the channel level, that really determining the right models for the planning scenarios. And that all together will then drive my plan, my forecast, and that will determine what happens into the future. Next slide, please, Hans. And so if we're talking about driver-based planning, and I think this was also one of the poll, we see that very much as the first pillar, where you see, okay, instead of planning on an amount, I'm adding my drivers in square footage, units, average prices. I'm doing that to really get a better accuracy in my plan. But I'm still running these plans pretty much in a worst case, best case, optimistic, realistic type of scenario. And then you see in pillar number 2 is where we add predictive algorithms in that. And that predictive algorithm will show me what could happen if I repeat history into the future. And then, of course, the plan will allow me to show me what should happen into the future by setting targets, assigning budgets to certain accounts in my statements. But then if you really look at the best-in-class type of organizations, and this is really where AI and machine learning comes into play, is where we talk about regression and classification algorithms, because pillar number 3 pretty much determines what I should be using in pillar number 1. And this is really to say, okay, if I look, for example, at a revenue account, what are some of the driving factors for my sales, for my revenue? And then you see this, that you could also switch it by product category. If I'm selling ice creams, absolutely, the temperature, the number of shops, the product quality are probably high influencing factors. But if I'm selling breakfast cereals, they're probably built different. So influencing factor is not on an aggregate, it is really by product, by category, by customer, by channel, by region, etc., etc. And once we are able to put all these 3 flavors into a single solution, into a single plan, then I'm increasing my accuracy, and then I'm becoming that world-class organization that's out there. Hans, next slide. So finally, to bring that back into the original maturity chart, and I think to talk a little bit about it, is if you look at the left side of the picture, it's all about visualization, and many organizations are extremely busy with that. We're very busy with the data, cleansing the data, creating all these standard reports, allowing our end users to create all these visualizations. And then the interesting portion is then we get people involved to interpret the visualization and let them make decisions on the waterfall charts, the Marimekos, and the bar charts. Of course, if you would be able to extend into predictive, then it's a different story, because now I'm allowing algorithms to really make these decisions. And of course, our point here is that if you stay on the left side, these decisions will always be biased. They will always include noise. If you move into the right, into predictive, there will be more accuracy, higher accuracy, and better plans for you as an organization. Of course, for SAP, for our solution, we focus on the full strengths. Yeah, so all the way from the data to visualization, to insights, to predictive, to planning, and that's what we put out there in the market. Hans, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Great set of slides, and it really shows how you go for that journey, converting data into real value. Thank you very much. I would like now to invite Thomas to give us his comments on the slides and potentially see where he is with it. Over to you, Thomas. Thomas, you might be on mute.
Yes, I might have been on mute. Yes. Well, so I think that we follow this model, and all what Eric talks about, we're trying to implement as much as we can, right? I think the interesting thing is also around automating processes, right? I think there was a lot of focus, has been a lot of focus on self-service BI and visualization. And we've seen that at NetApp as well, right? But it's not really driving the decision-making process that we want. So I think that as we move to the right-hand side of this slide, we also see that the value add of the finance department becomes much greater.
Yeah. No, agree, Thomas. And a final step, make it available to the people in contact and in context of what they're doing, and not as a silo again.
Yeah.
I would assume we're going back to Hans, but
yes, absolutely, we're going back to Hans, and I would like to say thank you so much to Eric for this presentation. Thank you to Thomas for commentary, and now it's a great timing for us to open another polling question. Yeah, Hans, I assume you're online, and I would like to open the last polling question for the session to hear from you. I'm launching the poll, and I would like to ask you to start voting. So please, can you start voting? What do you believe are the biggest challenges on the FP&A analytical journey? Please select one of those following questions. Talent and skill set, this is one of the biggest one for you, or culture, or technology, or data. Please go ahead. I can see that practically 60% of you voted. Let us I will give you a few more seconds, and we are closing the poll, and we are sharing the results. Closing the poll, sharing the results. This is the example. Hans, back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Larissa. So we're sharing the poll, and I would like to see Eric, if you can give us your thought on what we're seeing in terms of the percentages on the poll, please, Eric.
Yeah, Hans, yeah, I think no surprise. I think it's a bit of a mixture. Of course, I'm disappointed to see that technology is a challenge, but yeah, I think in general it is a mixture. People, process, technology, it needs to come together.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yes, from what we see here, it's just you would have kind of thought, as you rightly said, it'll be sort of an equal sort of split, but yeah, very much driven towards culture for some reason here. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on the last polling question. We will now go back to the slides and go back to our presentation. The last piece of our presentation is on people, and it's, as you can see, I've highlighted the FP&A business partnering there, and to give us their insight on it, we will invite Pascal, Director at Robert Half, to give us his view. Pascal, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hans, for the kind words. Yeah, hello and welcome everybody, also on behalf of Robert Half. My name is Pascal Köth. I'm the responsible director for our operations in the Mid of Germany region, and happy to provide you today with some insights on the impact of the digital transformation on the importance of FP&A skills, CFO's priorities, and the futuristic role prediction. Like our partners before, I want to start my presentation with a quote of our founder, Robert Half, who in fact was a catalyst for positive change himself. and who once said, ability is useless unless it's used. So changes, for instance, like the one from traditional to digital, which we are speaking about today, always go hand in hand with opportunities and benefits if abilities are used properly and efficient. As we are living in also uncertain times today, what does that mean for us and how can we use our abilities in the field of FP&A? Next slide, please. Well, for Benelux and Germany, we can definitely say, and that's surely important for today's audience, good news, FP&A skills are now even more important than ever. Nevertheless, of course, also the finance functions experienced one of its biggest challenges in the last months. Without any historical benchmark, various scenarios had to be devised and forecasting had to be done. Plans had to be adjusted on a monthly, weekly, and even daily basis. Leveraging data, which is non-financial, and taking a very holistic view of data has been even more important than ever in financial planning and analysis. Various elements of the function, such as tools, KPIs, and protocols had to be refined. Therefore, analytical skills, a good understanding of the operations, and strong communication skills have proven crucial to be the business advisory partner on margins and price setting to help drive profitability and growth. Next slide, please. The strong advisory role that finance departments had to take in the past months is also mirrored in the skills that CFOs are mostly seeking for their teams in 2020. The data shown is based on the annual Robert Half Workplace Survey conducted among more than 500 international CFOs, amongst them 200 from Germany and Belgium. While the German survey focused on hard skills and shows that the top 4 skills in demand are all significant FP&A skills, the Belgian survey has also taken soft skills into account. Apart from openness to change that was obviously key in the past months, FP&A related skills also stand out as the most crucial in the current market situation. What definitely stands out too is the increasing importance of IT-related skills, as you can see for Germany, what obviously matches with the findings for Belgium with regards to the software requirements. How do those prioritized IT technology-related skills correlate with the general priorities of CFOs? Next slide, please. Well, COVID-19 has put cost cutting on the top of the priority list in Germany, as well as internationally. Belgium is seeing some significantly lower priority in cost cutting, which is yet to be further investigated on our side, surely influenced by a higher invested business and digital transformation, but we are still about analyzing valid data on that topic. With the challenges posed by the pandemic, the demands on the skill set of finance professionals are also changing. Finance experts increasingly have advisory functions and becoming sought after sparring partners for the management. Together with digitalization, this is leading to new areas of focus, such as complex data interpretation, financial planning and forecasting, and reporting tasks. They cannot yet be easily mapped by artificial intelligence. As a result, FP&A employees are increasingly taking on demanding management and strategic tasks, making them an important contact for senior management in companies. Next slide, please. When talking about digitalization, we hence surely can't and shouldn't avoid to have a closer look at artificial intelligence and the question if it's experts and experts versus experts or artificial intelligence. Of course, furthermore, we have to admit various digital solutions will support and or replace tasks or process steps which an FP&A analyst is currently performing. A complete replacement of workstations is currently not apparent, especially since FP&A roles traditionally should not be very transaction heavy. But text recognition, big data patterns, self-service components are, for instance, aspects that will make FP&A work more IT related, and changing or new business models are often based on digital services that FP&A needs to understand in order to interpret and understand the implications. All that, as already mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, to create an environment of opportunities and benefits for all parties involved if abilities and resources are used properly and efficient, especially also during the uncertain and always changing times that we are living in today. Therefore, I would like to end my presentation with a virtual handshake for a bright future of FP&A and a successful transformation from traditional to digitalization, experts, and artificial intelligence. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Great presentation, and thank you for all the hard work that's gone into trying to put together all the series of results that you've got, especially pulling together all the 3 different areas, but also enlightening us around what sort of skill set is being required in the region. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Great presentation. I think it's now a good time for us to move to our concluding sort of element just before we go into our Q&A session. Just put this slide back in terms of just looking at all the different stages, all the different state, and just to remind ourselves that it is a journey. We can find ourselves, you know, in whatever stage. Step by step, we move towards the leading stage. And as we've gone through all the presentation, we can see what the leading stage is all about and what we're striving to. So at this point in time, I would like to thank you all and move to the Q&A session. And I would like to pass the baton on to Larissa, who will help facilitate the Q&A session. Larissa, over to you.
Thank you so much for fantastic presentations, a lot of questions here. I would like to remind all our participants to use the text box for the questions. And even if you don't have enough time to answer your questions, we will do this in offline regime. So please, can you continue to send your questions to us? A lot of questions. And the first one is to you, Stephane. What specific skills does your finance team need for delivering the predictive analytics and advanced functionalities? Would you say that any IT programming knowledge is needed for finance people?
IT programming, maybe I wouldn't go so far. I would say certainly an IT affinity, especially at expert level. I mean, at analyst level or manager's level, but certainly in terms of skills, intellectual agility and intellectual horsepower. I mean, horsepower is clear. Agility for me is key because our processes are changing even faster than ever, and we want to make them change even faster for the future. So since the digitalization is meant to bring pace, then we also have to let our teams understand that their agility is helping basically everything. It's helping the company, the processes, and ultimately themselves, especially for, I would say, the ones on the beginning of their career. They're likely to see further tremendous changes. And I believe that anybody who is mentally agile, culturally open, has the best chances of success in the future in finance.
Thank you so much, Stephane. Tanja, you are the next one. We have a question for you. What are some of the next areas of focus for your company after introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning and analytics?
That is a very good question. Thank you. There is one big chunk that's currently taking quite a bit of time of our management, that is turnover. And we would like to get further insights on the development. Corona has put its heart set on this, and we were caught very coldly. So we think that whatever we have as a model in place today that needs further assistance that can be developed through maybe not artificial intelligence, but more machine learning on top, because it's again on influencing factors and how we handle those. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Tanja. Thank you. The next question is to Thomas. Very interesting question indeed. So if we have both predictive and traditional, I would assume that traditional will be winning as people will not be convinced of the predictive, which is the black box for people. So what would you answer to this one?
I think they're partially right. I think that let's say the business management don't necessarily accept blindly the data generated forecast that they do, right? Because I think also we had issues with that in the beginning, that the knee-jerk reaction of the sales leaders maybe then, well, why don't you do all the forecasting then, right? But I think that when we had matured the model and we've matured the behavior of our business leaders, I would say that we have a much better mutual understanding of the fact that these are two different forecasts done in two different ways, and as I said, the predictive model is complementary to the management forecast. At the end of the day, management is accountable for the forecast, so they have to submit their final number, let's say, but using the predictive model as a complement.
Thank you so much, Thomas. The next question is to Eric. Eric, how complex can the regression model be built? Can finance teams have ability to review and update certain factors of the calculation?
Yes, so Larissa, I mean, that's an excellent question, because I think what we've seen in the past is that when we talk about predictive, that pretty much meant the data scientist, we throw the data over the wall and we let them turn it around for a few weeks, and then they show some results. So it is definitely a challenge for us as a technology vendor to basically go two routes. We have one which we call the casual data scientist. They have these predictive algorithms more as a right-click button in the application. And then, of course, there's also still room for the data scientists to do some more advanced work on the data platform. So we see that more as a two-track going forward. The casual user who does that maybe on a daily task, and then we got the data scientists who maybe do that on a monthly, quarterly level, etc. But yes, absolutely a challenge.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for your answer. The next question is to you, Pascal. Will automatization and artificial intelligence reduce the dimension of the FP&A department? And will it be used to cost reduction, or do you think that it will be just allow people to focus more on high added value activities? What is your view on this?
Pretty good question. Surely a question I could answer within the next few hours. To keep it short and simple, of course, the skill set will change within the departments. And I think some specific tasks will be able to be automized to enable the FP&A specialists, to enable the experts to focus on further development and further efficiency tasks. So like mentioned before, more IT-related skills that will be required. I don't think the headcount will go down. Surely there will be further interfaces to other departments, and this will enable people to focus on the even more relevant tasks, and so surely beneficial. So in our like I just said, in our eyes, just a refocusing, not a replacement, yeah, to say it this way.
Excellent. Thank you, Pascal. Let me conclude this Q&A session. We have more questions. We have a lot of questions coming, and it's good. Please remember that we will answer your questions in offline regime. So don't worry, if you have time, you can continue to text your questions. And now back to Hans for some conclusive messages.
Thank you, Larissa. Just moving on to some upcoming events that we have. So please, ladies and gentlemen, do register. There's a link down there. Great title again. So it's about storytelling. So please, as soon as you can, join us there. And finally, coming towards the end of our presentation here, I would like to just say thank you to our sponsors, SAP. Thank you to Robert Half. Thank you very much, sponsors, without whom we couldn't have this session today. Thank you to all of our presenters and members of the panel for their great insight, great presentation, and hopefully we've learned quite a lot from you guys today. Thank you very much. And finally, very definitely a big thank you to all the webinars attendee, without whom this would not be possible at all. Before we go, please become part of our platform if you're not already. Join the Fpna Trends group. There's various different ways of linking back with us. And I hope you've enjoyed our session today. And I would like to finally say a big thank you, and thank you for joining. And greatly, we are very much on time today. So thank you. And I think this will conclude our webinar today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.